Sure. You go first.
I'm Eva Erickson.
Okay, and I'm Preston, and we just got engaged. Yeah, show him the blame, because my bank account is screaming.
I heard a lot of really good things about him just from everyone, just about his character and his personality, and so I wanted to just get to know him more.
Well, obviously, she's the most beautiful girl in the whole wide world, so that's what first attracted me, but, I'm sorry, there's a bug. You can ask this question again if you want. Sorry. That thing's like flying right here. Totally ruined the video. I just heard a lot of great things, that her heart was like totally towards Jesus, and that's what I was looking for.
So when I was 15 or 16, I wrote like a list of standard qualities that I wanted in my future husband, and that totally like kept me on track throughout just my whole like finding my future husband. And so when you pray about it and wait for that and keep those values and morals, God will totally bless you with that, and he'll give you something way better than you ever even imagined. So
I actually created a list for fun one day. My mom was like, I just want you guys to create a list of the things that you want in your future wife. And like the first thing I wrote was hotter than the sun, like all this other stuff, and like has to be beautiful, and then like that. And I was young, so this wasn't like 2 years ago.
well, and another one was not ugly, so he had 3 on there.
Yeah, hot, make a sandwich, not ugly. And but then like obviously there were other things like learn something new about me every single day. Like even though she probably knows most about me, like every day there's some new question, or there's something like, tell me again about this. Like she just is actively pursuing me.
So my top like quality that I put down was that they have to love Jesus more than anything else in the world.
Oh yeah, that too.
And Preston definitely exceeds that, which is super cool. Another one that I put on there is they have to be a family man. So they have to love spending time with their own family, and they have to want to be involved, like an involved father one day and an involved husband. And Preston is super involved with his family, and I know he's gonna be a great leader for our own family one day, which is super cool.
We dated long distance. We FaceTimed. We had like a FaceTime relationship for basically the first 8 months of our relationship. I think we FaceTimed every night unless like she had something or I had something.
Yeah.
Once we were together, it actually was kind of hard for like the first couple months, and she actually had to sit me down and be like, you're not pursuing me like I need you to. And so for me, that was like a gut check. And so I just like listed my priorities in life. Like what are the things that I prioritize more? And I actually made 2 lists. The first one was like, what have I been prioritizing and what do I need to prioritize? And so like Jesus is obviously number 1, but then like for me, it was her, and I needed to make sure that like she was my second priority, and then everything else came afterwards, so.
Obviously, we're both saving ourselves for marriage, so setting those boundaries was super important. So we made sure that we didn't hang out in each other's rooms. We weren't at home when other people weren't at home.
And that was really good for us to like not cross those boundaries.
We just really made sure that in college we were prioritizing our friendships, and like if we wanted to hang out that day and it was something that like wasn't planned, it was just like, hey, I have some free time, you want to hang out? But he was already hanging out with his friends, or I was already hanging out with mine. Like we wouldn't just drop our friends to go hang out with each other, because we've both experienced where our friends like prioritize their boyfriend or girlfriend like so much more that they like start to lose their friendships, which
we didn't want that to happen.
No.
So. I would say find somebody that just makes you happy. Somebody that every single day she's gonna push you to just be the better you. And so for me that works because like some days I'm really down and I feel like oh man, my life stinks. But then when I look to my right and I see her, it really like lights up my life and makes me happy just to be with her and to know that I have a best friend. So, yeah. And she can cook, so that's good.
Hey, what up, everybody? On all of our campuses, great to be with you tonight. Tonight, we're continuing a conversation. I just know nobody's got strong opinions about this. It's not really controversial. It's just dating. I'm totally kidding. I know this is so controversial. Everybody's got an opinion about dating, and I'm just so glad that we're a part of a church that's just not afraid to talk about it. And before we move on tonight, I just want to remind you of a couple things just so we're so clear as we enter into the subject of dating. The first one last week, I said CCV is not anti-dating, which is really good news for a lot of us. The next thing is CCV is not anti-single. And a bunch of you came up to me last week and you were just like, Jared, I'm so glad that you didn't forget about us. And I was like, how could I forget about you? I was you most of high school. So there you go. CCV is not anti-single. And remember, if you can't be in a healthy place as a single person, chances are you're not going to be in a healthy place in a relationship. Next, dating is a process. Dating isn't the goal. The goal is where you want to be long-term in your future relationships. It's that person that you want to end up with. It's the health of that relationship. That's the goal. Dating is the process that's going to carry you towards your goal. And maybe your goal would just look something like this. Someday, I want to be in an incredibly real, insanely satisfying, wildly adventurous, authentic relationship with my spouse. I mean, who wouldn't want that? But how are we going to get there? Last week I just said, if we follow the trends of dating today, then the statistics are so clear. Dating tends to end up in heartbreaks and breakups, hurts and regrets. So how do we break the trends of the data? We have to start dating differently. Last week was all about adopting the protector's mindset. And if you weren't here last week, totally cool. On YouTube, you can jump on our students channel and you can watch it. So if you ever miss a weekend at CCV, this is an awesome resource for you. I hope you'll take the time to go back and watch that message or share it with your friends or whatever. That's cool. Today, we're going to talk about the next part of just all of us honoring God in our relationships and honoring the people that we date. Here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to make a plan. I want you to just take just a second right now. Look at the person on your right and say, you're going to make a plan tonight. Everybody on every campus tonight, we're going to make a plan. I had a high school football coach. He was famous for this quote. Maybe you've seen it before. If you fail to plan, then plan to what? Fail. If you fail to plan, then plan to fail. And I think this quote is just so true in so many areas of life. It's especially true when it comes to dating. I wrote it like this: if you fail to plan for dating, then plan on failing at dating. Jessica Tweed. I was 18 years old when I met her. And I'm just telling you guys, this girl was just stunning. I mean, she had everything on the list, right? She's beautiful. She is fun. She is smart. She loves Jesus. And I'm having a conversation with this girl, and I'm just completely blown away. And I remember that summer walking away from that conversation thinking to myself, holy crap. That's exactly the kind of girl that I want to end up with one day. Fast forward a year later, I see her again, and we bump into each other, and I'm like, this time I'm not going to let her get away, all right? And I start hanging out with this girl, and we start journeying towards a relationship together, and we get to this point where we have to DTR, we got define the relationship. And for the first time in my life, I'm just telling you, I was finally thinking like a protector. I was no longer thinking about what could I get from this girl. I was thinking about how can I honor God and how can I honor her. And this next part of the process of our future relationship had everything to do with making a plan. And students, I'm so grateful that that was our next move together. See, me and Jessica, we weren't going to just envision our future together and just leave it to chance and just go with the flow and do whatever feels good or whatever our hearts tell us to do. No, we were going to make a plan and rely on the plan to guide us where we wanted to go. And guess what happened? It worked. It worked. She's so beautiful. I love that picture. We've been married for 11 years now. We have 3 kids. And I'm just telling you, I am living the dream. I am living that statement that I said at the very beginning. You know, the incredibly real, insanely satisfying, wildly adventurous, completely authentic relationship. I get to live that every day. That's why I will always be a fan of anybody. Whether you follow Jesus or not, you should make a plan for how you want to date. Why? Because it's a better way to help lead you towards where you want to go. I love how God's word talks about this. See, it's not just my idea. It was always his. King Solomon, the Bible talks about him being the wisest king, the wisest man on earth other than Jesus. And he wrote this incredible book in the Bible. It's called Proverbs. I actually think every high school student ought to take time to read Proverbs. And he wrote about making a plan. And how he worded this so directly fits into this topic of dating and relationships. I want to show you something that he said. He said, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. I can tell something about Solomon as he wrote this. He was thinking like a protector. Why? Because he didn't say, follow your heart. That's a common thing to say today. Like, just follow your heart. Do whatever you're thinking about. Do whatever feels good. Just follow your heart. No, Solomon says, guard your heart. Which is, I know, it's kind of like a cheesy, weird thing to say, but I think he's on to something. I think Solomon just completely understood that the heart is at the epicenter in the human life where desire comes from. And you know this, desire is an incredibly strong emotion. Desire has the ability to take over your entire decision-making process, especially in a dating relationship. And for those of you who've ever been in one, you know exactly what I'm talking about because you felt the butterflies in the stomach. Guys, you've walked up to the cute girl that you have a big crush on and you tried to talk to her and sentences just couldn't get out of your mouth, could they? Like you're stumbling all over yourself. Why is that? It's because your heart is just beating out of control. Like you can't think straight. The heart is such a powerful part of ourselves. So Solomon says, don't just follow your heart. It's going to lead you all kinds of unpredictable destinations. Don't follow your heart. Guard your heart. It determines the course of your life. And he goes on. He says, look straight ahead. Fix your eyes on what lies before you. He didn't say look down at what's right in front of you and just react to that. No, he said look ahead. Look at where you want to go one day. Don't get so focused on the here and now. Think about your future. Fix your eyes on that. And then he goes on. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Stay on the safe path. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. Like you see where you want to go? All right, great. Make a plan on how to get from where you are to where you want to go. And then don't get sidetracked. Make a plan and stick to the plan. Students, every student, every campus, you are 100% capable of making a plan for dating. 100%. You are completely capable, through the power of Jesus inside of you, sticking to your plan. Why will you do this? You're going to date differently. You're going to get different results. You're going to work towards your future hopes and dreams, and I'm telling you, it's worth making a plan. And that's what we're going to do the rest of the night together. So I want to help you make a plan, and here's the good news. I already started the process for you. We built a simple structure. It's going to come on a half sheet of paper. You're going to get it tonight. And it's a simple way that you can start writing down a plan. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to give you a crash course in working on this plan, And then after the sermon's over, you guys are going to go to your group time, and you're going to start just individually filling out some of the things that I'm going to unpack for you. And then after 10 or 15 minutes or so, you're going to circle up with your group, and you're going to brainstorm, and you're going to work together, and you're going to come up with the absolutely best plan for you. Now, here's the deal. I'm also speaking very much to an audience of Jesus followers as I make this plan. If you're not a Jesus follower, awesome. So glad you're here. There's something in this plan that can help you make a plan for your future relationships, but just no offense, I am going to speak very specifically to Jesus followers. Okay, here we go. Let's jump into the plan. 3 simple steps. Here it is. First, date someone ridiculously hot. Number 2, make sure their parents are rarely home on the weekends. And number 3, preferably date someone whose family is loaded. Yeah, you wish this was the plan that I was going to unpack to you. Like some of you are just like, oh my gosh, this is the best church ever. I'm coming back every week. I'm going to tell everybody about it. This is not the plan. Let me show you the real plan. You're going to check for Christ-centered character. Number 2. Hey, we're going to cheer for that. Okay, here we go. We're going to establish boundaries. Silence. Number 3, we're going to invite accountability. You guys are ridiculous. Number 1, check for Christ-centered character. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, is the person that you're considering dating, are they a follower of Jesus or not? Why does that matter? Well, what I'm not saying is that people who are not followers of Jesus are bad people. I am not saying that you should not hang out with non-Jesus followers, not at all. But I am saying this, if you're a Jesus follower and you enter into a relationship with someone who's not, you are journeying with that person towards a spiritual connection. So here's what you have. You have a spiritual connection with Jesus, and you have just invited into that connection someone who does not have the same belief system. What's going to happen? Something's going to be off. What have you just done? You have compromised your first love. Your first love is Jesus, and you have just compromised it. And what's in danger is not just your relationship with that person. Now what's in danger is your relationship with Jesus. And why would you want to risk that? So you're going to identify, is the person that you're considering dating a follower of Jesus or not? Maybe the more important question is, how do you know? So many of us just assume, ladies, because he goes to church, of course he's a Jesus follower. Not so much. Not so much at all. Fellas, we might do some dumb things every now and then, but we're pretty smart. Like, we can figure it out. If we go to church enough, maybe we can convince you that we're really good and you should date us. Like, we're smart. Fellas, just because she's really good looking does not mean that she follows Jesus. So, here's where I'm going to challenge you. Look for the evidence. When you look at this person's life, how do you know that they're a follower of Jesus? Write it down. Make a list. Compile enough evidence that you could convince someone with 100% certainty this person is a follower of Jesus. And listen to me. If you can't collect the evidence, you shouldn't move forward in your dating relationship with that person. You're going to check for Christ-centered character. The second thing you're going to do, this is why you came to church, right? Like, this is the part. If you would have known that this is what I was going to be talking about this week, some of you would have walked into your schools, and at lunchtime, you would have stood up on your chair and said, listen, everybody, my pastor's going to be talking about boundaries for dating relationships this week at church. Who's with me? You're not with me, shut up. No high school student ever, in fact, me, nobody likes The boundary conversation, why? I think it's just because we have a misunderstanding on what boundaries are all about. I think some of us think that boundaries keep us from something good in our life. And I want you to listen to me so clearly on this. Anything in this world keeping you from something good, something better for you, that's just mean. Boundaries aren't mean. Boundaries protect what's meaningful. I must say that again because it's so important. Boundaries aren't mean. Boundaries protect what's meaningful. So what kinds of boundaries are you talking about, Jared? Well, I'll suggest two types of boundaries I think everybody ought to have. First would be physical boundaries. Another would be this, boundaries for how you spend time together. Now listen, that's just two examples of types of boundaries I think you ought to have. There are more than that. The plan that we're providing for you tonight, there's only a couple, there's probably more. And you should use your brains and come up with really good ones. But here's what I think a lot of people would say next. It's just like, Jared, well, give me some examples of physical boundaries. Give me some examples of how we're to spend time together. And here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to do that. You are completely capable of doing this, and if this overwhelms you, cool. After you take a little bit of time by yourself tonight, if you're not comfortable here, you can skip that section. And then when you get to your group time, this is where you can rely on your friends and rely on your coach to guide you and come up with examples. But I will say this. So many of us, when it comes time for making boundaries, we adopt this mindset. How far is too far? Like, where's the line? How far is too far? Well, it's clearly right here. And anything on this side of the line, that's just too far. And I'm just telling you, students, if that's your mindset, you might as well throw your boundaries in the trash because you're never going to follow them. How far is too far is a really dangerous question to ask. Let me suggest a better question. Rather than how far is too far, how close can I be with Jesus and still be in this relationship? Not how far is too far, how close can I be with Jesus and still be in this relationship? As you ask that question, start writing down your boundaries. And listen, we're not just thinking about them. We're not just talking about them. We're not just writing them down. We're living by them. We're devoting that this is who we are. This is what we take a stand for. This is what I will and I will not do in a dating relationship. I'm going to live by it. I'm going to establish it, and I'm going to let it guide me where I want to go. Establish boundaries. The third and last thing that you're going to do is you're going to invite accountability. And here's what I'll say about this. So many poor dating decisions could be avoided if we would simply invite accountability. And I get why so many people don't. I get it because nobody wants somebody to push back against someone that you want to date. Nobody wants to get shut down. A lot of you don't want anybody up in your relationship business, and I get it. But let me ask you, what if your resistance towards accountability is the one thing that's keeping you from actual, real, meaningful relationships? And let me ask you, how many regrets and hurts and breakups are you willing to endure before you're willing to invite accountability? What do you have to do if you want to invite accountability in your life? The most important thing you have to do is identify someone that you can trust. I'm not asking you to be accountable to someone that you don't trust. That would just be dumb. Find someone you trust. If you're a Jesus follower, that person ought to be a Jesus follower as well. And then you're going to go to that person, and here's what you're going to do. You're going to open up your plan, and you're going to slide it in front of them. You're going to say, here's how I've checked for Christ-centered character. Here are my written down boundaries. Let me tell you about this person that I'm hoping to pursue a dating relationship with. What's your advice? What's your recommendation? And then you're going to shut up, and you're going to listen. You're going to invite accountability. That is a different way to date. What are we going to do? We're going to make a plan. We're going to check for Christ-centered character. We're going to establish boundaries. We're going to invite accountability. And if you'll do that, I think you'll be so glad that you did. But I have to mention one more thing. And I just call it the trump card. The trump card to the dating plan that we're working on is one thing, and that's your parents. Because listen, I want more than anything for you to honor God in your dating relationships. The next people in your life that I want you to honor is your parents. It's actually God's expectation for you, that you would honor the authority placed in your life. And I get it. Some of you, your parents have ridiculously high expectations for you in this area of your life. Some of you, you have so many restrictions. And for some of you, you're not even allowed to date right now. And what I say to you is hey, that's the world that you live in. Be thankful for the parents that God has given you and honor your parents. And you know what I would do if I were you? I would still work on a plan, and I would still sit down with mom and dad or whoever it is at home, and I would still show them my plan. Hey, right now, Mom, I know I can't date, but when I can, here's my plan. What parent doesn't want to see that kind of proactivity? So still, you should still engage in making a plan, but above all, you need to honor God and honor your mom and dad. And I know that there's another group of us, and our parents could care less about this. You know, our parents, if they knew that we were talking about this at church, maybe they're not a follower of Jesus, and they just scratch their head and be like, why would you do that? And students, let me tell you this. If you're a follower of Jesus, this is an incredible opportunity for you to look at mom and dad and say, because I want to honor God and I want to honor the person that I date, I have made this plan. Students, don't ever underestimate the influence that you have in your life. And some of your moms and dads need to be inspired by your boldness. And I'm challenging you, wherever your parents are at on this spectrum, that you would have the boldness and the willingness to invite your parents into this part of your life. Because God has given you your parents. They are authority in your life. And my prayer for you is that you would honor them. We're going to make a plan. And here's what I want to say, students. You can do this. You can make a plan. You can stick to the plan. Christ in you has given you the power to do this. You are completely capable. Don't shrug it off. Give it a try. And where you're confused, lean into your coaches. Lean into your friends. It's worth it. Guys, that girl that you hope to end up with one day. Girls, that fella that you hope to end up with one day. He and she, they're worth planning for. Will you have the courage to do it? Hey, I'm going to pray and then we're going to be done. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for tonight. Thanks for just the opportunity to talk about dating. I know some of us are excited about this. Some of us are dreading what we're about to do next. I pray that you would use the plans made tonight to help students on all campuses honor you, Jesus, and honor the people that they date. We love you. In Jesus' name, everybody said.